Richard Ramirez was born Ricardo Leyva Muñoz Ramirez on February 29, 1960. His birth was an unremarkable event in a small hospital in El Paso, Texas, a city known for its vibrant culture and close-knit communities. Little did anyone know this child would grow up to become one of America's most notorious serial killers. His birthplace was El Paso, Texas, a city that straddles the border between the United States and Mexico. The city's unique blend of cultures and traditions provided a colorful backdrop to his early years. Ramirez's early life was troubled. From a young age, he was exposed to a household filled with tension and conflict. His father, a former Juarez policeman, was often strict and harsh, contributing to a volatile home environment. He witnessed violence and suffered abuse, both physical and emotional. These traumatic experiences left deep scars on his psyche, shaping his worldview in dark and disturbing ways. These experiences likely contributed to his psychological development. Experts believe that the constant exposure to violence and abuse during his formative years played a significant role in his later behavior. As a teenager, Ramirez became increasingly withdrawn and isolated. He struggled to fit in with his peers and often found solace in solitude, retreating into his own world. He developed a fascination with the occult and Satanism. This interest in dark and forbidden knowledge provided an escape from his troubled reality and fueled his growing obsession with the macabre. His interest in the macabre would later become a hallmark of his crimes. The symbols and rituals of Satanism became intertwined with his criminal activities, adding a chilling dimension to his already horrifying acts. Ramirez began experimenting with drugs and petty crime. His early brushes with the law were just the beginning of a downward spiral into a life of criminality. His behavior grew more erratic and worrisome. Family members and friends noticed the changes but were often powerless to intervene, as Ramirez became more deeply entrenched in his destructive path. In 1978, at the age of 18, Ramirez moved to California. Seeking a fresh start, he left behind the troubled environment of his youth, but his demons followed him. He drifted between Los Angeles and San Francisco, two cities known for their vibrant, yet often tumultuous atmospheres. The anonymity of these sprawling urban landscapes provided the perfect cover for his escalating criminal activities. He lived a transient lifestyle, frequently moving from place to place. This instability only added to his sense of alienation and detachment from society. He embraced a life of crime, engaging in increasingly bold and violent acts. His criminal record grew, and with it his notoriety. His crimes escalated in brutality, each act more heinous than the last. By the time he was finally apprehended, Richard Ramirez had left an indelible mark on the annals of American criminal history. In 1984, Richard Ramirez embarked on a horrific crime spree. This spree terrorized the residents of Los Angeles and San Francisco. He earned the moniker the Night Stalker. Ramirez preyed on victims in their homes. He broke in during the late night and early morning hours. His crimes knew no bounds. Ramirez committed burglaries, rapes, and murders. His victims ranged in age and background. His methods were brutal and sadistic. He often used whatever weapons were available. These included knives, guns, and hammers. Ramirez seemed to relish the fear he instilled in his victims. He often prolonged their suffering. He subjected them to torture and humiliation. The LAPD faced immense pressure to catch the Night Stalker. The media frenzy intensified the pressure. Detectives Gil Carrillo and Frank Salerno led the investigation. The investigation was complex and challenging. Ramirez left few clues at his crime scenes. His seemingly random selection of victims confounded the investigators. As the body count rose, so did public fear and outrage. The police released a sketch of the suspect. The sketch was based on witness descriptions. This release generated numerous tips. However, Ramirez continued to evade capture. His luck finally ran out on August 31, 1985. He was apprehended by vigilant citizens in East Los Angeles. These citizens recognized him from news reports. Richard Ramirez's trial began in 1988. He was a media sensation. He reveled in the attention. He even attracted a following of admirers. Among them was Doreen Leoy. Leoy was a freelance magazine editor. She became infatuated with Ramirez. She wrote him letters. She visited him in prison. Leoy professed her love for Ramirez. She proclaimed his innocence Their relationship shocked and baffled the public. Ramirez, despite being on death row, seemed to reciprocate her feelings. They married in a prison ceremony in 1996. Their union became a subject of much speculation and debate. Section 5. Unwavering devotion. Doreen Leoy's devotion to Richard Ramirez was unwavering. She visited him regularly at San Quentin State Prison. She maintained her belief in his innocence. Leoy defended him in the media. She argued that he was a victim of circumstance. She claimed he was a scapegoat for society's fears. Leoy's family and friends struggled to understand her attachment to Ramirez. They worried about her well-being. They pleaded with her to distance herself from him. However, Leoy remained steadfast in her commitment to him. She seemed to believe that their love transcended the confines of prison walls. Section 6. The shadow of new evidence. In 2009, long after Richard Ramirez's conviction, new DNA evidence emerged. This evidence linked him to the 1984 murder of 9-year-old Mei Leung in San Francisco. This crime had occurred before his Los Angeles killing spree. The discovery of this new evidence shattered any lingering doubts about Ramirez's guilt. The news of this evidence reportedly strained Ramirez and Leoy's relationship. Leoy had always maintained his innocence. This new evidence contradicted her beliefs. Although she did not publicly comment on the DNA evidence, sources close to her suggested that she was struggling to reconcile her love for Ramirez with the weight of the evidence against him. Section 7. Death comes for the Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez, infamously known as the Night Stalker, died on June 7, 2013 at the age of 53. His death marked the end of a dark chapter in American criminal history. He succumbed to complications of lymphoma while on death row at Marin County Hospital in California. The hospital, known for treating inmates, became the final stop in his long, grim journey. Ramirez had been on death row for over 2 decades, a period during which he remained a figure of fear and fascination. His time in San Quentin State Prison was marked by numerous appeals and legal battles. His death brought an end to his reign of terror, a reign that had left an indelible mark on the lives of his victims and their families. The courtroom battles, the media frenzy, and the haunting memories all culminated in this final chapter. However, his passing did little to ease the pain of his victims' families. The scars left by his heinous acts were too deep to be healed by his death alone. Memorial services and candlelight vigils were held, but the sense of loss remained palpable. Ramirez's death also left Doreen Leoy's status uncertain. Leoy, who had married Ramirez while he was in prison, became a subject of public curiosity and speculation. She had reportedly distanced herself from him in the years leading up to his death. The reasons for this distance were never fully explained, adding another layer of mystery to an already enigmatic relationship. Some speculated that they were in the process of divorcing, a theory supported by conflicting reports and rumors. The media's portrayal of their relationship was as complex and contradictory as the man himself. Others believed that she remained loyal to him until the end, holding on to the belief that he was misunderstood. This belief was often reflected in the letters and photos she kept, symbols of a love that defied public opinion. Leoy's whereabouts and current relationship status remain unknown. Her disappearance from the public eye has only fueled further speculation, leaving many questions unanswered about her life after Ramirez. Section 8. Unmasking evil documentaries and insights. Richard Ramirez's case continues to fascinate and horrify. Several documentaries and television series have explored his crimes, his psychology, and his enduring impact on popular culture. These documentaries delve into Ramirez's troubled childhood, his descent into madness, and the investigation that led to his capture. Richard Ramirez, The Night Stalker Tapes, a 2-part documentary series that released in 2023, features never-before-heard prison recordings of Ramirez. These recordings offer chilling insights into his psyche. The series also includes interviews with detectives, survivors, and those who knew Ramirez. These interviews provide a multifaceted perspective on the case. Section 9. A legacy of fear and fascination. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, left an indelible mark on the American psyche. His crimes terrorized California, creating an atmosphere of dread that permeated the state. The fear was palpable, and the sense of unease was almost tangible. They instilled a sense of fear and vulnerability in countless people. Families would double-check their locks, and neighborhoods formed watch groups, all in an effort to protect themselves from an unseen menace. His case highlighted the dark side of human nature. It showed how one individual could wreak havoc and instill terror, exploiting the shadows and the night to carry out his heinous acts. It exposed the vulnerabilities of law enforcement in the face of such random and unpredictable violence. The police were often one step behind, struggling to piece together clues in a desperate bid to stop the carnage. Despite the brutality of his crimes, or perhaps because of it, Ramirez continues to fascinate. His image, captured in haunting photographs and courtroom sketches, remains etched in the collective memory. His image has become a morbid icon. The media coverage, the sensational headlines, and the eerie portraits all contributed to a legacy that is both terrifying and intriguing. His story serves as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and the fragility of life. It underscores the need for communities to come together in times of crisis, to support one another and remain ever watchful. The Night Stalker's reign of terror may be over. He was eventually captured, tried, and sentenced, bringing a sense of closure to many. But his legacy of fear and fascination lives on. The stories, the memories, and the lessons learned from that dark period continue to resonate, reminding us of the ever-present shadows in our world.